Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Red Hour, a show I do twice a week where I throw a little bit of chaos into Star Trek by reviewing a random episode. And my name's the Dead Man, if you didn't know that already. Uh, so, first of all, I'm a little bit late because, well, I just been having some issues. But also, the title, I didn't have time to set up the title and stuff for this episode, so I'm going to have to go back when it's over and try to redo it. Uh, so right now, today I had my tooth pulled, my wisdom tooth pulled, and I was thinking about not doing the show. And last week I was actually, I think I was on Thursday I had a fever and didn't really realize it, or was like a light fever or something. And I should have canceled the show on Thursday, but I'm gonna keep trucking. There's some confusion on the playlist that I haven't looked at because episode 27 is missing. It's not. I don't know what the hell happened, and then it lists episode 29. It's like episode 28, and then below that is 29. So that's what. In this episode right now, I think it's titled 29. And so just the past couple of weeks, I've just been, this week and last week, I've just sort of been, yeah, it's episode 29, which, okay, that was the episode I did on Wednesday. The episode I did on Thursday, I think, I don't know. I think this is episode 30. I think. Yeah, it's episode. So yeah, I'm all screwed up today. Sorry, guys. I'll try to. Anyway, like I said, I have my wisdom tooth pulled today, and in a little bit of pain, not too bad. So I want to kind of go through this kind of quickly because A, it's not that good of an episode, and there's not much to it, and B, I just don't. I'm not 100% there today. And there's nobody out in the chat anyway right now, so it doesn't really matter, does it? Where am I? Okay, where's I'm completely fucked up. Okay, so today's episode is Enterprise Season 2, Episode 6, Marauders. And basically all you see is like there's this like desert-like planet that kind of looks like Arizona or whatever. I'm sure it was filmed in Southern California somewhere. And there's an encampment of some of I'm gonna use this some sort of encampment, and you don't know really why they're there, but it's not they're not humans. And all of a sudden we see shuttle pod from Enterprise land, and that's it. That's all there is to the teaser. And the episode's name is Marauders, if I didn't mention that already. So Archer, T'Pol, and Trip exit the shuttle pod and approach this encampment, and basically they had tried hailing them before, and but there was no answer. And the leader of this group says that the comms were down, but they're there to get deuterium. They need deuterium. It's a deuterium mine, and they say that they don't have enough or something. And Archer says that they scanned their tanks or whatever, and that it seems like they have plenty. And he says that some of it is reserved, and 2 of their wells are down, or pumps are down, or something. I guess deuterium is a liquid fuel, and I think it's been used before on Star Trek, whether it's Voyager or TNG or whatever. I don't know. So Trip says that he doesn't know much about it, but he's got tools and he's willing to help. So basically, they're trying to God, I can't even talk. They're trying to negotiate an exchange so that he helps them fix the pumps, or they help fix the pumps, and they'll give him like 200 liters of deuterium. So Trip goes back to the shuttle pod and is looking for the tools, and there's this little kid in there, and he's like playing around with the controls and stuff, and Trip is like talking to him, and the kid wants Trip to teach him how to fly and stuff, and he's like, well, I'll take you on a little trip. And I'm also getting over a cold. So yeah, last Thursday I had a fever, and I've had a cold all week, and then today got my tooth pulled, and I'm still trying to get over this cough. Anyway, their doctor. So during the negotiations, this woman speaks up and says, "We need medical supplies." So they agree to medical supplies, fix their pumps, in exchange for the deuterium. And so their doctor goes and visits the Enterprise and gets like some medical supplies that she needs. And Phlox is talking to her. It almost seemed like Phlox was trying to flirt with her, but I don't know if that was the case, or it was just the way the actor was presenting himself. I forget his name, John Billingsley. So then Archer's talking to Paul about their living conditions and how they should. Deuterium is basically like oil, on Earth. Like, if you strike oil, you're going to be rich. But these people seem to have, very little supplies and very bad living conditions. So then a Klingon ship arrives, and the leader is talking to Archer, and he's explaining the situation and how they, for the past 5 seasons, they've come down and basically taken their shit, taken deuterium, and and which leaves them with very little, which leads me to believe that, okay, deuterium is a seasonal thing. So is it I don't even know how that works. I mean, as far as I know, we pump oil year round. So how's this a seasonal thing? But I don't know. It never gets explained. So they barely have enough deuterium left for themselves to sell to other people, so that they can have a better life. Uh, that's why they're in the condition that they're in. So then uh, he tells Archer that the Klingons are under the impression that this is an exclusive deal, that nobody else is supposed to be down here, trading with them. So he basically tells Archer to back off, don't go out there, don't talk to them. Archer tells the Enterprise to find a different orbit so that the Klingons don't see them. But you would think that they would be able to detect the ship in orbit anyway. So I don't know. So the Klingons beam down, and there's not enough deuterium for them. The guy says that they have two pumps that are broken, and the Klingon says looks like they're in working order now. It looks like they're in working order, and he says, "Well, we just got them fixed," and the Klingon calls him a liar, beats him up, and then there's another guy that kind of steps in and kind of takes over, speaking up for this guy, and he says, he gives them 4 more days. He's like, okay, he's not happy about the situation, but he gives them 4 more days because of their hospitality, which when have Klingons ever cared about hospitality? I don't know. So, Trip is, so they leave, and then Archer says that that they can outnumber the Klingons. What's the big deal? They have weapons. Why can't they fight them? And he says, have you ever seen a Klingon in battle? And he says they tried to stand up to them one time, and they killed like 4 people. I think he says something along the lines that they killed like certain more people to prove a point or something. I don't remember. So Archer and T'Pol head back to the shuttle, and I was watching this, and T'Pol, she's always got like a cat suit on, but this one's pretty nice, because like her booty is on display. But then Trip hangs back, and he wants to talk to the kid, and he says, look, doesn't look like I'm going to give you that flying lesson. And then back on the ship, Archer's in his ready room, and he's looking out the window, and T'Pol comes in, and he says, this is like not a prime directive type situation. Like, well, they don't have a prime directive anyway, but this is not a pre-warp civilization, or this is not interfering with a culture. They don't have their own culture. They're just minors, or whatever you want to call them. And T'Pol says, in this instance, she agrees. They should help them because the Klingons are just taking advantage of them. And so they go back Archer goes back down to the planet to talk to the guy, and the guy's like working on some kind of crane or something, and it's later on at night. and the Archer's trying to convince him to help him, and he's like, I can't, I don't want your help. Go back to what, go back to your ship. And he says, we tried to do it, he restates that he tried to help, and look at me now. I can't even work on this crane thing. But eventually he gives in. So Malcolm comes down and he's inspecting their weapons, and he says, they're kind of primitive, but they'll do, and he can work on them. And then they lay out this plan where, so all of their housing units, the whole thing is like module, meaning they can move it, pick it up and move it. So they want to move it just a small bit to where it still looks like it's in the same like area, but but instead, when the Klingons come in, they'll be in over top the fields, the oil fields, we'll call them the deuterium fields, because the Klingons know that it's dangerous. But if they cover it up, if they move everything and cover it up with camouflage, and they wouldn't be aware that they're in the fields. So that's their plan. And then Trip. So they're in the process of moving everything. There's a bit of a montage type thing, and Trip and Archer are alone, and Trip asks Archer if it was, he's like, this is a long shot, isn't it? And Archer just turns to Trip and he says, look, I've never liked bullies, whether it's on Earth or out here. I'm going to help these people. So back on the ship, T'Pol is teaching. Well, back on the ship, Malcolm is teaching them, these guys, how to shoot. How to aim better, and because they talk about how they shoot lizards and stuff. And so they're going through target practice, and they're doing a bad job, and then Hoshi steps in and shows them how to do it properly, because she had the same problem. And then T'Pol is teaching them. She says that she can't teach them how to fight with a bat'leth or anything, but she can teach them, and she can't teach them, like, I guess, Vulcan karate, for lack of a better term. But she can teach them, like, basic evasive maneuvers. So, again, there's another scene with the kid is talking to Trip. Sorry. Excuse me. He said the kid wants to help, and Trip tells the kid that Malcolm has a rule that you have to be bigger than the gun to use it. So basically telling him he's too young to fight. And so then there's another sort of like training montage, and Archer walks in and talks to the leader, and he's like, the leader guy is saying, how he hopes everybody survives this, including the Enterprise team, and that he's nervous about the situation. And Archer tells him a story about when they first set off on their mission, they ran into the Suliban and had to fight them off and all this stuff, and how he, this wasn't what he signed up for, and he wanted to be, instead of fighting the Suliban, he would rather be out there exploring and meeting new civilizations and making first contact and stuff. So, uh, so the whole episode, I guess at some point it seemed to me like it reminded me of the A Team. You know, like the A Team would come across some people that, you know, they were being bullied or whatever, and A Team would like set up all these traps and sabotage these guys and but in the A Team you have Mr. T and you have Murdoch. And it was funny, you know, you had some funny lines and stuff. There's no humor in this episode, except for maybe a little bit with the kid. And the kid was useless. I mean, it was pointless. So yeah, so it's kind of like the A Team where they're, so it's the Enterprise version of the A Team, and but without the humor and less and no explosions. So then the Klingons arrive and they're kind of getting they show up and the town's empty, and they're hollering out for them to come out, and there's nothing. He notes that the pumps aren't running, and so they all of a sudden you see a guy like whistle or something, and they chase after him, and there's like a trip line pops up, and then a lady like throws a rock at them, and then they run this way, and they Malcolm's like up on a hill like shooting down at him, and then T'Pol shows up and taps one on the back and does like this little karate move, and you know, then they chase him up a hill, or they go up this hill, and the Klingons are like following them. They find them, and then they like need to go down the hill a little bit more to get the Klingons in position so that they're over these wells or whatever. So they get them in position and then form like this fire ring around the Klingons, and then they tell the guy, the leader, this is your chance. So he goes out there and threatens them and says, you know, don't come back here, because if you do, next time we'll be ready. So the Klingons beam out of there, and that's pretty much it. They leave. Trip goes back to the shuttle pod, and the kid's there again. He gives them like a schematic of Enterprise, and then they get in the shuttle and leave. That's the end of the episode. And I gave it a 3 out of 10. Like I said, first of all, it didn't need to be Klingons. It could have been anybody. It could have been any species. And if you're going to do like an A-Team episode, you know, lean into it. Have some action going on. I mean, there's a little bit of action, but it's like light action. And you know, have some explosions and set up the trip, set up booby traps and stuff. They have like one booby trap, you know, or two, I guess, if you count the fire. You know, lean into it. Have some humor. Have a BA and Murdoch moment. Have a Murdoch and Faceman moment. Have a Archer, you know, being Hannibal moment. You know, I love it when a plan comes together. Don't say those exact words, but you know, have it. That would have been cool. And it's just a wasted opportunity. Instead, they wasted our time with this stupid kid that does nothing and goes nowhere. You know? And so, I mean, there's not much to the episode. I said the other day when I saw it pop up, I knew what episode it was, and I knew that I didn't like that episode. So yeah, I think I gave the 37s a 3 out of 10. So, you know, I mean, it's just it's just awful. Uh, so let's pop in the chat, see if anybody's out there. God dang, man. I'm sorry. So, looks like we have Darren M. How's it going, Darren M? And so I'm going to give myself a like. I'm going to try to give myself a like. There we go. So now let's get to the portion of the night, the show, where fate chooses the next episode, and hopefully tomorrow I'll be a little bit better. So, Darren M, if you don't know, I'm not doing the show on Sundays anymore. I'm doing it on Thursdays. So Wednesdays and Thursdays, 8 o'clock. Anybody else that's listening, if you're out there, that I'm changing it to Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. At any time there's a episode like this where there's, you know, it's kind of meh. It's going to be a short show. If I had more to say about it, I would. The only thing that stood out is that it reminded me of the A-Team. And that would be cool. I mean, I would love to see a Star Trek version of the A-Team, but this one, you know, sucked. Like I said, what was the point of it being the Klingons? It could have been anybody. You know, they didn't... It doesn't matter that they're Klingons. So, as you can see, it's still on Marauders. So, I didn't mess up this time. So, yay me. Let's press the randomize again and see what we end up with. TAS. Well, I'm not doing TAS. I already mentioned that. Beyond the Father's Star. That sounds like a good episode. I'm not as familiar with TAS. I've only seen I've only seen it one time all the way through. So, and at least it has a majority of the original series cast. So let's try it again. Okay, so this time we end up with Enterprise, Dear Doctor, which is one of my favorite Enterprise episodes. So, yay, I get to do a good one. Maybe I'll have something to say this time. So, and that's Season 1, Episode 13, Dear Doctor. Anyway, one more look. Yeah, I do need some rest. But thankfully, today's my day off, and tomorrow's my day off, Darren M. So I'll get that much needed rest. Anyway, I want to thank everyone that showed up, Darren M. Anybody that's lurking, and anybody that watches this episode in the future. That's going to be it for me tonight. Thanks for coming. This is the Red Hour. I'm the dead man, and I sound like a dead man. I will hopefully